we'll see. I think it's quite a fool. We'll do our best. Like it's just on the wrong setting. Okay, cool. Awesome. I'd love to hear, like, why don't you tell us what Adapt is and why you guys are so different from any other conference that we might get invited to participate in?
Sure. Well, the focus is on connecting people, right time, right reason. It's about understanding the intent of all parties and bringing them together. But the vision of the business is how do we help Australia thrive commercially as a region? And how do we connect, inform, equip the right stakeholders? Because candidly, we're probably a bit behind the rest of the world in areas we should be doing better in. We're drifting. So our goal at all times is how do we bring examples from people ahead of you on a similar path, practical ways, short term, not flying cars coming at some point in the future, but what do you need to do this quarter, this financial year to affect change? And bringing the right kind of people and partner vendors to bring that to life, So we've been doing this 14 years. We built a lot of trust. We've got a good brand. But really, it's about all of the communities who overlap a bit like a Venn diagram. And then we come together in the middle. So I wouldn't say that doesn't happen at other events and all, but we put a huge amount of effort to what people take away on the day. And I always challenge, hopefully, for what will you remember next week? Because there's so much information. Huh?
That's great. One of the things I really admire about you guys too is your unique use of data and participation in these events, and then also how you match vendors and delegates together. Instead of it being like a traditional conference where you're trying to make small talk around like the food or something, you actually do a very day or exactly, and it's just like trying to get people in to the booth. You actually have a very deliberate approach of how you do that so that people have a very good use of their day.
Yeah. Well, you've got a prospect and customer base who are inundated, right? Especially when you get to the top of the pyramid in terms of size of organization in Australia. Thousands of people are trying to access influence. For them, it's just always white noise. 80% of it is not of value. We've asked them 20% is kind of value, 5% is actually valuable, but all this noise is coming at them. So by trying to be an independent platform and sourcing their needs and their intent, because the prospects, the end user community, they need your help, right? They need guidance, the kind of directness of your keynote today. They need practical, immediate advice, and not always for the technologists or the digital leaders. They need to take it back and translate that into their business, right? Because it's the frozen middle. I heard someone create it once, the middle management, upper senior management layer who need to actually take more experiments, have more risk, allocate more resources, allow people to make mistakes in large enterprise in Australia, New Zealand. But yeah, the data we're gathering in that entire process is based on a community who trust us, who want to share the information because they know that we're going to leverage that in the right way to identify the right solution providers who can solve their short-term problems, help them reach their goals, and then, act in an educated way about how you match those. There's software to do the correct kind of algorithmic match, but then it's about the human and capability connection to make sure the last thing we want is people to meet for the very reasons.
Just, I love how passionate you are about this. Like, I feel like you don't get asked it that directly that often, because if that come to life, like, I don't want you to give up your Google algorithm, but like, how do you guys choose who gets invited as a delegate to an Adapt event?
Well, again, it's people, right? So a lot of companies just do email marketing. I have a very capable team who are skilled in domain, in industry. They have relationships. They use referrals. If someone today, Chief Digital Officer, attends and we have a CFO event, usually there'd be a connection internally to say, you're worth the time. Like, the most precious commodity still for all of us is the time we have. And we have very capable people who human interaction to outreach. And it's not something you can automate just yet. I've thought about it, but this is probably a place where we'll keep humans in place rather than an agent.
I completely agree. And I mean, I think the world bouncing back from COVID demonstrated that, right? Like, people saying in-person events are dead and all of that, and I feel like we want them more than ever now. If you could, because you see delegates turn up year after year after year, so I imagine you have some delegates who have been with you for so many years coming to different events. You'd be able to see what the ones that turn up differently every single year, where like their business has just gone to a different level every single year. They take these kind of insights and act on it. Like, is there any like hot tip or trait or characteristic that you see that actually causes, if with Adapt Digital Edge next year, that would have a delegate that's here today, their business be completely different a year from now? What are they doing that the rest aren't?
Yeah, it's a great question. We host finance, technology, cloud, security, data, digital. They're each in their own lane. They each complain that the other lanes don't communicate in the same language. They all struggle with silo priorities and different misaligned goals. It's the language between all of them. So it's the ability to articulate. And especially for heads of digital, they've all got these, like, a month ago, data AI leaders. They're energized, but they need to be able to communicate, articulate back into the business, the vision, the goal, the reality, and how to get there. And candidly, most of it is about how well they write a business case to the powers that be. And it's the powers that be that we have to tackle if we're going to thrive as a nation. The risk-averse board, CEO, CFO, the core of most companies who are hesitant to allocate resources, or they're more worried about shareholder value, profit, whatever, but they're strangling the future capability of most companies. And when you say about year on year, what I do worry about is the number of large organizations from Australia we host year on year. And the conversation I typically have with them is frustration that they're still under-resourced. They're still told to do more with less. They're having the margin cut, do more with what we've got at a time when actually, no. We've got very bad R&D budgets in Australia. And now that's going into AI, obviously, but in the right way. So how do they articulate to get the resources and write the business case to be able to do what they need to do for their company to thrive, which seems to be a bit of a stranglehold with most of the technology and digital leaders we work with.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. This has been a great chat. I love what you guys do. Like, it's so different. I've been to so many conferences and all of that, and it's really unique. And I've also loved how much leeway we've been given with my crazy keynote that I did there, where I just wanted to bring it up in different ways, and it was just like really, really cool. So I
already had heaps of people comment on it because it's different, edgy. Right now for guest results.
Yeah, and when we speak, we don't want this to be another meeting you attend. Like, we want this to be compelling and influential, but also fun. And that's one of the great things about tech, but particularly AI. It's one of the most fun, like, cool technologies, as well as like brilliantly powerful. So yeah, it'd be cool. Can't wait to be here at your next event as well.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Cheers, buddies. Hey, great.